There was a time when I was alone, nowhere to go and no place to call home. My only friend was the man in the moon, and even sometimes he would go away.
So we decided to have tea, and I texted Darius, where I'm inside now, I'm having tea, and we were just relaxed, and Darius was out with the kids, and they were doing their usual biking around and running around and playing. Then Arthur came in the house, and he was flushed from running around, and said, I don't know where Lachlan went. So I asked him, oh, well, does Daddy need help finding him? Oh, I don't know. So he came in, and my mom started reading him a story, and I put my shoe. I wasn't in any big huge rush. I thought Darius was outside with the boys. So I went out and found Darius and said, are you looking for Lachlan? And he said, well, no, they're just over there. So then we looked, and he wasn't over there. So no, this was a first. He had never left the property. He knows not to leave the property. So we actually spent the first little while going around different places on the property. It's 8 acres. Like, okay, there's this spot, there's that spot. Maybe he's there, maybe he's here, maybe he's there. Then I thought, oh boy, he's not on the property.
We started looking on the property. Then when we didn't find him on the property, Heather went down the road in the Jeep, and I went down the logging road in the other Jeep, and didn't find him.
So I just jumped in the Jeep and drove a couple of roads that I thought he might be on, but he wasn't there. So then we were texting each other, okay, now what? Darius took the off-road Jeep into the woods and started doing those roads, and we expected to find him any minute.
And then I kind of realized it was probably 45 minutes since he'd been gone, and I realized we only had less than an hour before dark, so we better call for help. And so that's when I called 911.
I was just spending some time with my 13-year-old son, and we were just going to go downstairs to watch a movie, and we just made some popcorn and sat down.
I think I had actually just come back from the SAR Hall doing some work, and was sitting down with a cup of tea, and it was just before 9 o'clock when the call came, and it was really, it was that call that you dread as a search manager, the missing child.
Comes in, it's a missing 3-year-old. Right then, my heart jumps to the back of your throat. I have kids. I've worked with young kids in other organizations throughout the years, and it's my biggest fear.
Well, it was about 9 o'clock, and unfortunately I was more or less just getting home from work, and started cooking dinner but didn't get any food in me.
I was actually just getting ready to go back to work the next day, the Monday morning. I had been on 2 weeks of vacation. Busy transferring gear from my hiking pack. We had been on a hike of the Juan de Fuca Trail, so busy transferring gear back into my SAR pack.
Immediately got a hold of everybody and said, this is what we've got. We divided up some tasks so that simultaneous things could get rolling, and moved straight to the SAR Hall as quickly as we could.
After calling 911, I continued looking, and probably within 10 minutes there were 4 police vehicles.
My responsibility was to come directly down here to meet and talk with the family and conduct an interview along with the RCMP.
We started dealing then with the RCMP and explaining, the background and where we think Lachie might be.
And we just wanted to get them to tell me everything they knew about Lachlan, about his fears, about his impulsiveness.
Because we know Lachlan, and we know, like, the most likely thing is that he took off on his bike into the forest, and we figured out, right, he did say, Daddy, can we go into the forest earlier that day? And it wasn't a good time, so we thought, yeah, maybe that's where he went. He probably went in the forest. Out of any place that he would have gone, we were thinking, yeah, he probably went into the bush.
And so that was going to be first on our priority, is hit the outbuildings and everything on the property, in a large property, and those high probability areas like a pond or a well that a child could have fallen into. And you don't like to think those things up front, but you want to make sure you've checked everything right away.
Our initial tasking was to search the residence, and like I said, and as you heard earlier, we went through and we basically go through every closet, drawers, anywhere where a 3-year-old could possibly crawl.
Yeah, well, I realized that we didn't have a lot of light left, and that I needed to start. We needed to find them right away because there's a lot of cougars in the forest here.
So we take a look at what the terrain is like, how long that task is going to take, how many resources we're going to have to put in that area, how probable that area is of locating it.
Yeah. High probability areas, high risk areas, and those became the first assignments.
We initially searched the house proper, and then we searched the property, which is 8 acres. So, and you're doing a fairly thorough search. You're doing a type 2 across, the open areas. You're checking every barn, every shed, underneath every vehicle, any vehicles you can get into. So you're doing quite thorough. Even there's a pond on the property. We thoroughly searched around the pond.
So we live right on the edge of the forest, right on where the woodlot is, and so there's a lot of places a kid can go there.
As soon as people were getting on the ground, we had assignments prepared and written and got them on the ground as quickly as we could.
At the search and rescue, SARS units started appearing, and by dark, the whole street was lined with cargo trailers and all sorts of, the command center with search and rescue, all sorts of different off-road vehicles, on trailers coming, and they were starting to go in the woods.
So it was very stressful, obviously, to have minutes and hours, like every 10 minutes you're thinking, this is odd, this is more and more odd, what's going on here?
You have to prepare yourself for any outcome, right? So heading especially into a task, every step could be this parent's either worst nightmare or the happiest day that they've been reunited with their child.
Yeah, I was worried, but I was just kind of in a frenzy, I suppose, of a searching frenzy. I just needed to keep looking, and I didn't really stop to think much because I was just trying to look for them everywhere I could think of to look. And
being a 3-year-old, it definitely, your adrenaline's high. You're in high gear, and you want to find them right away. It's a pretty scary situation.
So we're planning for finding Lachlan as fast as we can, but at the same time, you're also planning for what if he's not found tonight.
Times we got Plan A, which is find Lachie right now. We have Plan B, which is find Lachie within the next couple hours, and Plan C, which is find Lachie tomorrow morning.
My logic was, I'm not going to be very useful unless I've had some sleep, and we need to find him tomorrow morning. So I actually put it in my head, it's important for me to sleep. So I did for 3 hours. I didn't think that would be possible.
I spent many hours that evening just putting together the first assignments for the day for the following morning.
So on the phone to Emergency Management BC and speaking to our SAR specialist and asking for additional resources, as many canine units as we can from the island and from the lower mainland. What air assets do we have? We talked about Royal Canadian Marine SAR to do the shoreline. Just casting a net wide to bring as many teams in as we can, so that we've got lots of bodies on the ground for first light.
When it's happening to you and it's your kid, you don't realize, like, you're not thinking clearly, you're in a state of shock, your effectiveness is deteriorated, at least mine was, I know, quite a lot.
Planning assignments for teams, mostly for the next day, and getting ready to go in case we had to keep going on the task on the next morning.
I think I was out till about 2:30 in the morning, and I says you're quite exhausted by that time. By that time your adrenaline rush is starting to come down, and you're really starting to feel it physically. And I did manage to get home. I think I got about 2.5 hours sleep.
And we had everything planned, ready to go first thing for 7 o'clock in the morning.
I just pulled my sleeping bag out and slept in the back seat of the truck. Got up 2 hours later.
Kept a roving patrol on the roads using our all-terrain vehicles.
But I woke up at before dawn, and as the tiniest bit of light was entering the sky, I thought, okay, now we're gonna find him now. So that's where I started getting very anxious, and walking over to the command center, which was still on our road, at daybreak, like it's that kind of eerie daybreak feeling. And I walked into their trailer with the fluorescent lights, and people are kind of getting ready and getting organized, starting to move. And that's when I think I shifted into a trauma, like a shock, state of shock. Yeah, walking in and with the lighting and seeing everyone getting ready, went into some kind of state of shock. And just seeing my son's name on a whiteboard with some details and just the level of organization, and his picture on the whiteboard, and people just, yep, we're serious, we're getting to work here. And he wasn't found. It was just, that's not good. Because then you get into like, okay, how long? Like, how long are we talking here? Can't we just find him now?
Yeah.
Where is he?
Watching the sun come up and expecting that Lachlan's going to arrive home, and of course as the minutes pass and he doesn't, you begin to become more worried, and it becomes a more serious event when they don't pop up right away.
There was 5 of us that came that morning for first light. So we arrived here at the command station. It was a really calm scene, actually. Everything was very organized. The search managers were busy doing what they do best. And we do what we do. We stand and we wait for our assignments. And you prepare yourself mentally a little bit at that point. It's the quiet, the kind of the calm before the storm, if you will, and it's the time that you have to mentally prepare to go out and to do this.
I was extremely grateful. It was very comforting knowing that more people were on their way too. Even just the thought, more people are on their way, is very comforting.
Yeah, we were out 8 o'clock in the morning, and as you know, we are basically, our task is to there's an old logging road which just kind of goes off to the right off the property, and we were basically do a type 2 search on both sides of the trail. And when we're doing that type of search, we're actually not walking on the trail. You're actually walking about 20 meters each side of the bush, so you're crawling over log piles, you're crawling underneath log bushes, you're looking through ditches. It's very, for anybody who spent any time on Vancouver Island, they realize that it's very, very thick, and there's a lot of underbrush and a lot of thistles, and very taxing. I think we were probably out there, I'm going to guess probably a good 3 hours, and we probably only covered about 1.5 kilometers.
There's no new news. Lachlan's still missing. Don't have a trail or idea of where he went.
To try to keep your emotions at bay is a challenging thing to do.
I stayed hunkered down in the house. I mean, I think I even Googled what to do when your kid's lost. Like, how long does it take? I wanted to know, how long is this going to take? And when do I go into code red? Because I'm in the tail end of code yellow or whatever. Just starting to get, who do I need to notify that we've lost our son? Like, calling my mother-in-law and all those things. I didn't want to make those calls.
A toddler, only 3 years old, is alone, missing for a hectic 15 hours.
It's like looking for your own kid. I just know what the parents would probably be going through. It just leave a sick feeling.
Scouring a massive area near the boys' Union Bay home, an army of search and rescue workers turn logging roads and wooded areas upside down.
Every hour that ticks by, you begin to worry more and more. Are you doing all the right things? Do you have people in the right places? Is there anything that's overlooked?
So you're constantly reevaluating who you have where and why they're doing this and how many resources are in what area.
I realized then that, wow, this is a large operation. They have, they've got a whiteboard with to-do lists, maps. They have different people in charge of different things. Very well organized. It's like the military. It's basically a professional operation happening right here with different groups, all with radios, and different tasks.
So we were covering an area that consisted of logging road, trails, and just very thick ground cover. So it was pretty rough going for a lot of it.
My sense of time and everything was different at that point because I was, focused on finding my son.
But okay, I need to just let other people do their work because I've done my little round, and now I need to stay with my other son.
The ground cover was thick. There was uneven terrain, but you know, it's something that we're used to. It doesn't really faze us. Once you're in that mind frame of you have a job to do and this is the task we've been assigned, it's not something you really think about at the time.
And as searchers, we're taught not to search for the subject. We're to search for sign. So you know, the whole time we're out there searching, I'm thinking, where's his bicycle? Because we knew he was on his bicycle. So we're looking for his bicycle. Trying not to fixate on his bicycle, because you might miss something if you fixate on the bicycle. But it's always in the back of my mind, where's his bicycle? Because I knew that if we found his bicycle, we'd find him.
Well, we're always looking for the clues. So I like to see when clues start coming in from the teams. Hey, you know what we found?
We had just finished the first part of our task for that day, and we had to follow. Our second part of the task was to follow this long power lines, and we weren't looking forward to it. It was going to be a long haul, and it was getting very hot out.
When they picked up his bicycle track, and they were able to follow that right to him.
And then we heard over the radio that we found him, and right then the world just stops. You just kind of like, okay, we found him. Now what?
If he's not okay, what do we have to do? What resources do I have here right now that I can send up there as fast as possible to make sure that everything's okay? And you know, as soon as I heard that, I just immediately looked outside and said, okay, who's first aid? Who's here? Where is our RIT team with all our high level of first aids on it? Where's all these kind of 15 different plans bouncing through your head of what you might be faced with?
I mean, you put a lot of pedaling on there. You got big, strong legs. Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden, he's healthy, he's thirsty, but he's alive, and just that sense of relief, just, you know, it's just like you got this tension built up, and you just let it go suddenly, and it's just, and you could just hear throughout the bush all the woohoo, yahoo, and the yelling and the screaming, and everybody's so happy. And
come on, high five! Woo! It's a good day.
Tell me how that feels.
Oh, woo! It's a good day.
Yeah, we did. We were as soon as I came across the radio that he's been eating berries or covered in berry juice, that was a pretty big sigh, and everyone in the truck was just the tension lifted, and everyone was chuckling a little bit.
Just when the call came to say that he was found alive and well, for me, there's always this moment of, even amidst the buzz of radios and people, it's absolute silence, and I get a lump in my throat, and probably if I looked at the wrong person, I would tear up, because that's what you want to hear. That's what you do this for.
And then they radioed over that Lachie was found alive and well, and they were bringing him back home, and it's a pretty immediate sigh of relief. And the next thing that comes in your mind is make sure that the family knows.
At the same time that my mom squealed in the living room, ah! And I thought, hold on. Oh, they found him.
They're calling down to me saying they found him and go home. They came overhead, and they were on the loudspeaker. I couldn't make out what they were saying at first because the chopper's loud, and it wasn't very clear through the loudspeaker. But eventually, yeah, I got it. That they said go home. They found Lachie.
Goodness, Lachie, a lot of people have been looking for you, sweet boy. How are you, sweet thing? How are you, darling? How are you doing?
I went a far ways away from home.
But you are safe now, sweet boy. You are safe. All these people found you.
It's all good, right?
Nice job, gentlemen. Nice job.
nice work, buddy.
Use miles and miles.
Hey, Lachie.
And
Miles.
he just walked out?
Well, he was on his bicycle, and he was still on his bicycle when we found him.
What did you do last night, Lachlan? Did you eat lots of berries? What did you do last night?
I ate lots of berries.
Oh, Lachlan, we're so happy to see you.
Way to go, buddy.
Let's go see your mother. Will you?
Let's go. Mom wants to talk to you.
Bye, Lachie.
Are you the dad?
Yeah, I am.
Tell me how you feel right
Oh,
now.
I'm pretty amazed right now. I'm pretty happy.
Sitting between two SARS guys, sitting in the little off-road vehicle, and he seemed like he didn't have a care in the world. He's sitting there eating candy and drinking water, and he was fine. After a night in the woods. And
You know that there are dozens and dozens of people who have stopped their lives, left family, left work, and come to form a team that is cohesive and strong and professional, and that because of that we had a success, and that's what makes Search and Rescue in BC such a wonderful organization.
And knowing that they have their son back, it was fantastic. There was lots of high fives and happy searchers, and it was neat to see.
And actually, I remember just as we were coming back to the residence, you know, his grandmother was there, and she was just, you know, she was quite thankful and thanking. She came over, she gave me a big hug, and you know, it was just that meant the world to me.
And it's a great group of people. You know, you make these contacts and you make these friends from other teams around the island, and everyone's here for the same reasons, to give back to our communities and to have happy endings like this.
You know, I'm a dad, I'm a school principal, and kids are so precious, and at 3 years old, particularly given the fact that, you know, even over the last 6 months there's been so many tragic stories of lost children across Canada. To have Lachlan found alive was the absolutely best feeling you could possibly imagine.
And I just had assumed these were professionals, which they were, absolutely. And I was so encouraged about humanity, I guess I could say, when I found out they were volunteers. Because, like, I don't know, obviously to me this is a really big deal, and then you've got this huge outpouring of support, and it's professional. Like, these people are competent.
And so you really have to rely on somebody else, like, because you can't do it yourself. And so I was super, I can't express how thankful and appreciative I was and am that people have, you know, given up their own time just because they have, they feel that it's a worthy cause. And I mean, that because people did that, I mean, that's why we have Lachlan back now, right? So it's a pretty amazing thing.
It was an incredible feeling. Like I said, you know, like that's the reason why I joined Ground Search and Rescue. That's the reason why I do what I do. You know, to be able to give back, and, you know, like I says, it just, you can't describe that. You know, there's no job in the world that's going to give me that feeling.
I don't think a paid network could stand up to the professionalism and the teamwork and the unity and the passion that the volunteers have.
Thank you, Search and Rescue. Thank you, Search and Rescue.
Good job. He was just going on an adventure, and for him it wasn't really anything too much out of the ordinary.